O'Reilly!
It's Superstart Battery Month at O'Reilly Auto Parts. Get up to a $25 gift card after rebate with the purchase of select Superstart batteries. Our professional parts people will test your old battery for free and recommend the right battery for your vehicle. For power, performance, and reliability, choose Superstart batteries only at O'Reilly Auto Parts.
O'Reilly Auto Parts.
You are listening to the Hiking Radio Network, where we talk the walk with shows by hikers, about hikers, for everybody.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free, through the darkness of the night.
Welcome to the Jester Section Hiker Podcast, where we talk about the continual pursuit of the section hiker.
And I'll spread the word, and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come. And we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the podcast. You are listening to Jester Section Hiker, the premier podcast with the spotlight on section hikers. And I'm your host, Julie Jester Gayhart, and it is Thursday, July the 30th, and I am coming to you live from my backyard here in Charlotte, North Carolina, and wanted to put together for you guys this week what I'm going to call the summer summary and transition episode. Just wanted to give you guys, first and foremost, some information about what's been going on since I've transitioned back home off the trail, answer some of y'all's questions that I've received, and then transition into what's going to be going on in the future of the podcast, which are some really, really exciting interviews coming up. But first and foremost, wanted to give you guys an update on the knee. The knee is actually doing extremely well. I have no complaints there whatsoever. The swelling is going down. I'm going to be getting the stitches out this coming Monday. So once those are out, probably the remainder of the swelling will start to dissipate and all that good stuff. But with that being said, I'm going to try to make a long story short here. So a week ago, when I went to the clinic, you know, it was like, oh my goodness, you got a gash in your knee. Let's get you some stitches. You need a tetanus shot, and we're going to put you on some antibiotic. Well, where I'm going to make this long story short is I have had a major reaction to the antibiotic, major rash, just low-grade fever, all that wonderful stuff. And I am under medical care. I was inspected for so the doctor thought I had a tick bite and all that kind of stuff. I have gone to my regular family doctor here in Charlotte, and all is well, with the exception that I did have a reaction to the antibiotic, and now it's just a matter of time for my body to, you know, kind of get over that. So, I mean, I literally broke out with a major rash on my face, down my neck, my chest, some of my lower extremities and things like that. So it got kind of crazy when I got home, and I've been kind of silent on social media just because I just really haven't had the energy to just to even say anything. But I am on the mend, and everything is going to be good. So wanted to give you guys an update on that. Wanted to let you guys know, some people have asked about like total mileage for the summer. So my total days out on the trail were actually 39 days. I am pretty sure I took 5 total days off. So 34 hiking days, and I completed just under 400 miles. If my calculations are right, it was 386.7 total miles. And I am extremely happy with that, because where I left off, I'm actually at a point where I don't have any more gaps. And what I mean by that is, like, I don't have 10 miles over here and 15 miles over here and another 10 miles over here. I was able to get all those little chunks that were here, there, and everywhere filled in. So going forward, I pretty much have a straight line. I still have 5 miles in Pennsylvania over what's called the Knife Edge area to Bake Oven Knob Road, which is one of the harder parts of Pennsylvania, but it's 5 miles. And then I have from Bear Mountain State Park in New York to Tyringham, Massachusetts, which is roughly 152 miles. And then I will have the state of New Hampshire and the state of Maine. And when that is completed, I will have completed the AT as a section hiker 2 times. When that happens, I will be very proud of that. I'm still very proud of all the hiking that I was able to get done this summer. I've had a couple of you ask if I was disappointed. I am not disappointed at all. 400 miles is no joke. That's a lot of miles. And it got hot this summer. And I probably got less miles done. I know I got less miles done than I would have if it would have been 65 to 70 degrees every day. Because a lot of the days, I ended up cutting in half. You know, some of the days were 12 miles, 10 miles, 8.5, things like that. Just because it was just too hot. Way too hot. But I will say, I had a listener ask me what were my highs and lows of the summer. And I'll have to say, I had a lot of highs. I mean, that's very, very hard to summarize. But probably the best high for me was realizing, and I did talk about this on the podcast, the day that I became really content with what I've done on the Appalachian Trail. And that was the day that I hiked south out of Gathland State Park back down to the Harper's Ferry, West Virginia area. And I don't know what happened to me that day. There was just a sense of peace and contentment. And I no longer had this feeling that I had to bust out miles, that I had to, you know, I don't even know, worry about anything. You know, it was time to stop and smell the roses. And that really hasn't gone away. Even after falling, even after that day, I just had a major sense of peace on the AT. And that's just kind of where I'll leave it. And I've never had that in 15 years. So that is a great feeling. And I even think I talked about this before. Even when I was working on my first section hike completion and finished the trail for the first time, I did not have the contentment that I have now. So that is an amazing feeling. The lows, actually, I'm not even going to say the low part was when I fell and hurt my knee, because that just kind of comes with the territory. You're going to get hurt on the trail. It could be small little bang ups. It could be big things. You're very lucky if something doesn't happen to you. Not everybody's going to have a major catastrophe on the trail, but everybody falls. Everybody has things happen. But probably the overall low this summer was honestly the heat. I mean, some of those days, it was 97, heat index over 100. And as I sit here on my back deck right now, I have no idea how I hiked in that heat. But it was taxing on the body. It was taxing on the mind. And something that I learned from that is my body no longer responds pretty much like it used to in the heat. And that's just been over the last year or two. And yes, I am getting older. I'm becoming a woman of a certain age in that category. And I just think things happen with your body as you get older, and your body's tolerance level for heat. I think it just changes. So, and I really, really found that out this summer. So that's what I'll say my highs and lows were. Where am I going to go from now with the AT? I'm going to I still love the Appalachian Trail. I'm going to keep plugging along. And ultimately I am content, but ultimately I do want to finish the trail again for a second time. So that is still the ultimate goal. That has not changed. So I will keep plugging along with that. But I also want to say that, I talked about this too. I have a strong calling to, see trails out west, do hiking, other places in the Appalachian Trail. So we'll see what happens. But if all goes well, I will complete it for a second time and hopefully be podcasting when that happens. So I wanted to give some shout outs. And I don't even know where to start with this because I have met so many awesome people this summer. I first just want to thank everybody that came out and hiked with me, spent miles with me, wanted to hike with me, and especially in the heat. And, every day that people joined on the hike, Wheezy P, Alpha Gal, Pajama Mama, opt-out hikes. I mean, it was hot those days. It was really hot. And I'm pretty sure every Saturday that Wheezy P and I hiked, it was just sweltering hot. So thank you to everybody that came out and hiked. It was so awesome to meet fresh ground. It was awesome to interview all the thru hikers that are still out there on the trail, plugging along. And I have actually heard and gotten messages pretty much from all the thru hikers that I've interviewed. So they are all still out there plugging along, doing their thing. I also want to thank each and every one of you that sent me email messages that said you were following along and listening and thanking me for putting it out there on the podcast. For all of you that sent me Instagram messages, I'm pretty sure that I've gotten back to each and every one of you. If I haven't, I am still working on that and will do so. So very, very, very thankful for all of that. I do want to give a big shout out to the Natural Bridge Trail Club. I mean, amazing work that was going on with that 90-mile section of trail that you guys maintain there in Virginia. A lot of work going on, a lot of beautiful trail, and it was probably just because I just so happened to be in that area when you guys were allowed to come back out and start maintaining the trail, but absolutely amazing. And I do want to tell you guys a couple more stories. Probably the most impactful person that I met on the trail was the 83-year-old that I interviewed, and her name was Dancing Feet. And what an amazing lady. And we continued to talk after my interview with her. And she told us stories that were incredible. She's been hiking out on the Appalachian Trail a long time and has completed 1,700 miles. And as you guys heard, I mean, she has tried to go up Katahdin 3 times. And she was telling stories about how her and a couple of her girlfriends were hiking in 1989. And they were around this guy, and they really didn't understand, how he was hiking. He had like dicky pants on and like a hard hat. And come to find out one day, and they'd been around this guy for like 2 or 3 weeks. And finally the guy told them that he was Earl Schaefer. And Dancing Feet was like, who? So it was just funny, her telling the story of how, her and her girlfriends were hiking with Earl Schaefer and they had no idea who he was. And she actually ended up being friends with him and keeping in contact with him. And she told us that story. And she also told us another story of her husband being an avid member and very active member of the Natural Bridge Trail Club, and how he built 4 or 5 shelters in that area and maintained them until he had a stroke. And he is still living, but he is unable to get back out on the trail like he used to. And just phenomenal. I mean, just phenomenal stories of, Dancing Feet and her husband and her hiking partners, and year after year getting out on the Appalachian Trail and actually becoming members of the Natural Bridge Trail Club and giving back to the trail on a consistent basis as well. So very, very, very inspiring. And I hope to talk to her again. I do have her contact information and I will reach back out to her, but very, very inspiring lady. And I also want to say thanks to Steve Adams. You all know him as Mighty Blue and his podcast, Mighty Blue Out on the Appalachian Trail. And he is the owner of the Hiking Radio Network, where the Jester Section Hiker podcast falls under. And every week I would send him the podcast information and he would make sure that it got loaded and all that wonderful stuff and got out there so you guys could listen to it. So thanks, Steve. Really, really appreciate that. And by the way, he edits all of our episodes as well. So thank you for that. I also want to thank Stella, my partner in this endeavor. She will not come on the podcast, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you, she put up with a lot this summer, especially when the heat cranked up, and helping me get particular places on the trail and making sure I got picked up. And I mean, I didn't really want for anything. So big shout out to Stella for that. I really, really hope you all have enjoyed this particular format of the podcast. I really enjoyed doing it. And I did get a couple questions. How was it to podcast out on the trail? And quite honestly, it wasn't that hard. For some reason, every day I would just walk and talk on the trail. And it just seemed to be natural for me. I didn't really have to work hard at it. The podcast app that we use is relatively easy to put an episode together. So it wasn't that hard. I just had to make sure that, every day I recorded something and it would end up, being between 9 and 10 minutes, which worked out perfect. So that worked out great. And I got a lot of feedback from you guys that you really enjoyed it. And so whenever I go out on a section hike or something like that, you will probably hear more episodes coming in the future for that. So now let's move on to what's going to be happening going forward in the podcast. The podcast is not going to miss a beat. It is still going to come out every Saturday. I have got an amazing interview for you guys coming out a week from this episode coming out this Saturday. And I cannot think of the date. I think it's August the 8th, Saturday, August the 8th. You guys are really, really going to enjoy this episode. I've also got our first mini-series of the episode where I talk with a gentleman for 3 separate episodes about his 4-year section hiking journey on the Eastern Continental Trail. I've got more episodes of entrepreneurs inspired by the trail and some ideas for the fall and early winter episodes of some different things that I want to put out there for you guys. So like I said, the podcast is not going to miss a beat. It is still going to come out every Saturday as we transition from me being out on the trail back to the regular podcasting format. If there is something that you guys want to hear, if any of you out there want to be on the podcast, please, please, please reach out to me. If you have a guest or a friend or somebody that you think I need to interview, please send me their information. I will reach out to them. And if you have any questions, as always, you can reach out to me on Instagram. You can shoot me an email. I cannot thank each and every one of you enough for following along this summer, listening to each and every one of the episodes, giving me your feedback, sending me emails, all that wonderful stuff. Look forward to providing you guys more awesome podcast episodes in the future. As always, everybody, thanks for listening. Happy section hiking, and we'll chat real soon.
I'm wondering if you'd go wandering with me through the wilderness and woods to where the winds are blowing free. through the darkness of the night, heading toward the morning light. I wonder if you'd wander with me, and I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. You're wondering if I go wandering with you, what kind of trouble we'll get ourselves into. Would it be wrong to tag along with a band of vagabonds? You wonder if I'd wander with you. So I'll spread the word and you beat the drum. We'll round up the troops and get the gang to come, and we'll leave the streets and these neighborhoods, head over the river and through the woods. I'm wondering if you'd come wandering my way, if you ever get lost or if the trail leads you astray. The music of the pack can always bring you back. I wonder, can we wander away? And I'll spread the